Turn off the preview. We look good. It's Wednesday, March 18th, 2020. I'm Rim.
I'm Scott.
And this is Geek Nights. Tonight, keep your hands off Eizouken. You know, being stuck at home, working from home, only going outside to, like, buy incremental groceries or go for a run or, like, take a walk. And, like, on one hand, sometimes when my life's busy, I want to just stay home. Like, I'm just like, I really just want to stay home tonight and, like, lay on the couch and play video games. But now that I have to stay home every night and play video games,
I want to get the fuck out.
Yep.
Whatever you tell me to do, I want to do the opposite.
So I feel like...
And reverse psychology doesn't work because I actually know what you want me to do.
But what's interesting is I'm starting to feel the urge to play a lot of those Steam games that I own and have literally never even installed.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm looking through that list and I'm seeing a lot of games and be like, ooh, or even worse, friends of ours are saying like, hey, why don't we play this game? And I'm finding that like 70% of the time, if anyone says something like that, I do in fact already own that game and didn't even realize it.
Mm-hmm.
Yesterday, I tried to buy a game on Steam.
You had it.
And Steam was like, yo, dog, you already own this.
You want to gift it to someone? You like it that much?
Yup. I feel like Steam should just, if Steam wanted to make money, if they just let you, if you keep buying copies of a game, it just lets you and just like increments the counter and you could gift them later, but didn't tell you that.
I think they do let you do that?
They do, but you hold it as a code to like give to someone as a gift.
Oh.
It warns
it's effectively the same thing.
But it warns you like, hey, you already own this. If it didn't warn me, I think I would have bought a lot of games like 3 or 4 times and still not played them.
So because of having Twitch Prime, you can claim, all you got to do is do some clicks, and every month you get like 4 or 5 free games, but they're only in the Twitch app. So I installed the Twitch app, and there's like this mountain of games in there because I click the thing every single month. And it's like, whoa, I'm like, there's games in there that like I've considered buying or maybe already owned on Steam before, or luckily there aren't any games that I bought after, but it's like, there's some games in there that are like real legit games and stuff, right? So, like, I think there's a game called like Exit the Gungeon, which is like one of those Super Smash TV type Robotron shooters, and the original Enter the Gungeon was just in there. And it's like, I'd considered buying that, but I guess I don't have to because it's just there. Well,
now I get desperate if I start going through like all the old adventure games, or if I like replay Quest for Glory. Mm-hmm. I feel like if anything like that starts happening, I know I'm in trouble.
You're in big trouble.
So there is actually pretty big news. I hope you would have seen this coming, and I want to talk a little bit about not Anime Boston specifically.
We've never talked about anime. We never talked about Anime Boston this much on Geek Nights, even when we went to it.
I know.
And now we've done 2 newses. It feels like on 2 Wednesdays in a row. Because last time we talked about how they're changing their layout, and now it doesn't fucking matter because they're just canceling the whole schmagegi.
Yep, and basically every AnimeCon's canceled at least through like May, probably until the early fall at this point.
Who knows?
But one thing, so Anime Boston canceled. They're doing the right thing. You should have been able to see this coming because they'd said something to
everything
the effect
else
of,
already. As soon as things started canceling, you have to assume that everything is canceled, right?
Yep.
It's like the bike club had like a ride for Saturday, and I was like, before they announced it was not happening like a couple days ago, I signed up for it, and I was like, well, if they have it, I'll go. But yeah, I knew there was no way. They've canceled all bike rides for like 8
even
weeks.
Even if we get a full-on shelter-in-place order, usually they leave an exception for solo exercise. But in places where that's happened, solo means you got to be fucking alone.
What are they gonna do? Like jump? Like if we're running together, which not with that I would do that. But like if 2 people are running together, what are they gonna do? Like attack them?
Well, they'd probably just come over and be like, hey, and what do? Run from the police? I'm not a kid anymore. That might put me in more trouble.
What do you say? I mean, what are the police going to do? Throw you in jail for running with someone?
No, I'll give you like a fine. In France, they've been fining people who are outside.
What if I run
reason.
with someone I live with anyway?
Nope, it's got to be solo activity if you're outside. It depends on the order or whatever they say. So like, we might be able to just go out biking.
My main concern is like biking actually seems like a better idea. It's solo. You're not really close to people.
Yep, like running,
right?
I'm completely by myself.
There's less cars out because people are just home. It's just better all around. There's less pollution because there's less cars. Everything's great. But the problem is, I guess it's better than skiing, but like if somehow something happens, not only is the medical resources already limited and there's less available to take care of cyclists that fell down, but also if you have to take a trip to the ER, you don't want to.
Yep.
It's like, I'd rather just stay home with my broken leg. It seems like I'll have a better chance of living is my broken leg.
At least I walked by the clinic near us the other day, and it's still pretty much empty. Like, no one's really in there. Like, urgent care right there.
Oh, an urgent care. Yeah, I'm talking about, like, you don't want to end up in an ER.
No.
If you end up in an urgent care, that's probably fine. But don't do anything that would have you go to the ER unless it's, don't get the virus in the first place. But it would be really suck if something else happened to you, you had to go to an ER, and then you got the virus because you went to an ER.
But I did see people on social media having problems with Anime Boston canceling, and it seemed
What problem could you have?
So
Everything's canceling.
It seemed to boil down to, I am too young to understand how hotel reservations work, and I don't know how to get a refund on my hotel room that I didn't pay for
pick up the phone
yet.
and call the hotel.
That kids do not know how to deal with this shit.
So don't complain. There's too many. We've talked about this over and over again.
I mean, we talked about this on Geek Nights back in 2006.
I don't know how many times we can keep talking about this.
When those kids freaked out at Otakon.
You're going to Anime Boss. You're going to an event, right? Your hotel reservation, your eating, your food, these other things have nothing to do with the event you're going to. It's not their responsibility, right? If you have a problem with your hotel reservation, that's between you and the hotel. PAX, Anime Boston, fucking World Series, whatever you're going to.
Well, actually, that does get
fucking nothing to do with that.
That does get complicated in situations like where PAX is now, where you book your hotel officially through the event.
It doesn't matter. It's still between you and the hotel. That service they provide is just a convenience.
Nope. You actually can't cancel with the hotel until right before the con. You have to go through their service to cancel it.
Right, but it's not. The convention isn't running the service. They're just like paying something to do that to make it easy for you so that when you go to their website, you can find a hotel easily. It's not like you're paying the convention for the hotel.
Yeah, I think the point is more just that people weirdly still seem to go to a lot of events that they are passionate about, yet somehow don't know anything about those events or about how to exist in the real world.
Yeah, people don't. When in school do they teach you? Here's how to reserve a hotel room. Here's
the
how
first
it works.
time I ever had to reserve a hotel room on my own in my life, I actually went to the hotel's website and read it. I read oh, here's what to do.
90% of questions about anything on the internet are answered easily by Google, and people ask them anyway.
Yep.
That is not new. That is a generic worldwide problem of people asking questions without searching and reading for the answer.
Now,
first,
the rest of what I'm about to say,
that is why we seem like we know things.
Yeah, I don't
even
know
though
much
we're
more
just
than
the
you.
only thing that we know is when I have a question, I know how to use Google and get the answer and read and understand and think about it for several minutes before I ask. That is the only reason I seem smart. I'm just a moron. I have no special knowledge or training except in computer programming, and even then there's people way, way smarter than me in that area.
So the rest of what I'm about to say does not particularly apply to Anime Boston. I don't know anything about the inner workings of Anime Boston, but across the board for the last several weeks, a lot of events and conventions have been saying things like they won't, if people ask them if they're going to cancel, they've been saying no. Even though
you say no until you say yes.
But in many cases, internally, they want to say yes. They are actively trying to cancel. Often, they are legally not able to cancel or even give the appearance that they want to cancel. And that's why they tend to say things like, we are waiting for guidance from the state. We are waiting for guidance from the CDC. Mm-hmm. We are observing, because they have all these contracts and nonsense and insurance. And depending, if a convention, an average convention, did the right thing and canceled before they had a good excuse to, and just the fact that there is a pandemic is apparently not a good enough excuse, then the hotels and everyone can just sue them or keep deposits and just completely fuck them over.
I'll always remember, I learned this lesson, believe it or not, in fucking first grade, right? I was in first grade.
Yep.
And they told us, man, we got a guy coming. He's going to put on a fucking laser show. And I'm a fucking nerd. And I'm like, oh, fuck yes.
Lasers.
There's going to be a laser show at school. This is going to be fucking awesome.
Dude, the word laser, until about the year 1992, the word laser got me going a little bit.
This is first grade, right?
Yeah.
This is a long time ago. And
Lasers.
I think this might have not even 1990 yet. And I was like, oh my God, a laser light show. This is going to be sick, right? First grade. We go to the gym. We're all sitting on the floor waiting for the laser show, right? And then they come in and tell us, well, the laser show's not happening. And why was the laser show not happening? Because in the contract with the laser show guy, right, they promised that they would have a dark room for the laser guy to do his laser show in, because if it wasn't dark, fucking didn't work, right?
Yep.
They had put black construction paper over the windows in the gym.
That's not going to cut
It
it.
was not sufficiently dark, right? And so the guy showed up. He said, it's not dark enough. And then he left. And they still had to fucking pay the guy because otherwise they would have been in breach of contract.
Yep.
And I learned everything I needed to learn right then in first grade. And all that shit is still true.
So basically, all these cons where you're like, why haven't you canceled yet? Why have you canceled yet? Odds are they're desperately trying to cancel, and there's a bunch of legal nonsense that there's no escape from that. Like, there's no way for them to escape.
Anyway, so the interesting thing that actually matters, right, is what will the consequences be of specifically in the anime U.S. community of there not being anime conventions for what seems like several months.
Yep. So one, there are a lot of like mid-tier celebrities where the convention circuit is like it for them making money.
Oh yeah.
Like that is really hard for some of these people. Like some of these like people who do the convention circuit as their primary job. Like especially Comic-Con types, like someone who shows up and like does signings and autographs and prints and things, like those people just have no way to make money now.
Yep.
Because their other fallback is giving talks, which they also can't do
like
right now.
If you're a voice actor, it's like depending on what, if you're an anime voice actor, a significant part of you don't make a lot of money doing that.
Yep, in America.
A significant part of your money comes from doing all these cons and stuff. And you better do a whole shit ton of voice acting now to make up for it.
Yep.
But it's not like this, but now there's less money going into anime to pay for voice acting. So people in the Artist Alley biz, I'm a dealer in a dealer's room. I tour the dealer's rooms and sell my merch biz.
Like our friend Luke is probably in deep shit right now.
All these businesses that do that sort of stuff are going to be having a hard time. Merch sell, anyone, right?
Also, just not businesses, but just nerds who use artist alleys as supplemental income. If they've relied on that income up to this point, that's just gone for pretty much the rest of this year.
Right. People who are in anime nerdy hobbies like cosplayers, they're gonna have a lot of fucking time to make like the best damn cosplays you ever seen.
Yep.
Which may mean more money for people selling cosplay supplies online, things like that, because those cosplayers are going to be sewing up a storm at home with no cosplay contest, right? Cosplay photographers are going to, instead of showing up at a con taking a bunch of photos, might be able to get more jobs like hired out by a cosplayer to come and take photos because they got no con to go to and they made 10 amazing costumes, more amazing than you ever seen because they had no deadline.
I think something else is going to happen.
Then again, they might not finish because they have no deadline.
Yeah. But
depending on the person.
For a lot of younger fans of things, like Anime Boston is a good example of this. There are more people out there than you might realize who tie their identity, like the highlight of their year every year is going to like the anime con that is their anime con. And while it may seem trite, those people they cannot deal with this because this is not something that has really happened to American nerds in modern history.
Right. The cons, at first cons were a new thing. Like we lived to see cons rise.
Yep.
You can just listen to any GeekNights from the beginning.
Yep. And cons can fall. We've seen cons fall.
Right. But now cons are so regular that they become like a habit, a routine for people. So I wonder if that routine is now broken. What percentage will there be a drop off when they come back eventually,
or a surge,
of like, oh my god, I have been so desperate for a con. Oh my god, yes, I saved my money. I didn't go to any cons last year. I got extra money now. Let's con, baby.
My guess,
or I didn't go to Anime Boston last year, right? Which was pretty great anime con, over all things considered, and it's like. I didn't miss it. Oh, it's back? Meh, I was fine last year not going to it. I'm done with this thing.
Yep, I worry especially
I picked up something else while cons were gone to fill that hole in my life. I don't need to do that anymore.
Especially anime cons because they have a pretty high churn of like younger people get into the culture, get real excited, and then realize there's not a lot for them to do and they fade.
Yeah.
I feel like if you break that chain too much, like 1 year might even be enough, you won't energize a new generation, and I think anime cons next year might actually have a problem.
Lastly,
gaming cons I think will have a surge because that is an audience that sticks around.
Yeah. Lastly, companies like in the industry, right? So like Funimation or those kind of, in whatever industry it is, comic companies, right? It's like, how much money do they really get from the marketing on their return for the marketing investment they make in the cons? A Crunchyroll for say, right? It's like, who knows? But they'll probably be just fine. People are going to be watching more.
But what
people
if
are watching more Crunchyroll and Funimation at home, right?
What if all these gaming and anime companies like miss a whole con season, their numbers don't change, thus undermining any reason to ever continue to support these cons?
That could happen, but also I personally know people whose job it is to be event coordinator for industry companies, video games, anime companies, other nerdy companies, right? Will they be out of a job now that events are not happening?
Yep,
right?
or at least furloughed.
Will they just be laid off? It's like, if you're I don't know who the event person at Funimation is, but they must have one, right? There's a person who manages Funimation's presence at all these anime cons. If there's no anime cons to go to, is that person just screwed now? Are they laid off? Are they going to do something else? What's going to happen?
It basically depends on the health of
the company. And there are many, many such people out there at different companies.
Yep, like healthy or successful companies tend to keep highly skilled people and would probably continue to pay those people and have them do training or do another role for a while or work from home. Maybe furlough them, but if you get lower
it's like
to the
if
tier,
your skill is event coordinator, event manager person, no one needs you. Right
if you
now.
need to change
no one
jobs,
has events right now.
If you do
you
get
need to
laid
go
off,
into a different field, at least temporarily.
I'm glad we didn't actually plan our con for this year. Is all I'm saying.
Yeah.
So pretty much like I'm going to be blunt with you. Any nerd con in America, at least through like end of May, maybe even June.
Maybe someone can have one out in the middle of nowhere, but you can't have anyone visiting from far away.
That would almost be worse. Like Zenkai Con,
local only con in Nebraska. How many cases are in Nebraska?
Yeah,
reported?
but
probably not.
Good
too many,
Lord,
right?
a surprising number of people travel long distances to go to dinky little cons.
Cornfield Con, locals only.
You know where no one was going to get coronavirus if CityCon still happened.
No.
I will never forget being guests at a con where there were more guests than attendees.
I just wanted to do another tiny news, right? So, an anime adjacent topic, Gunpla, right? So, if you don't know, Gunpla is Gundam model building, right? You make plastic models. They're not as hard as you think, but they're way fancier than Lego and a lot of fun. Even if you don't get like me, I've been doing them for many, many years, since like almost 20 years, over 15 years for sure. And I've tried to paint them a couple times, but it's like, maybe if I had a house and I could set up an airbrush booth, I would do it. But it's like, I don't do the painting, I don't do whatever. I just build it according to the instructions. It's still fun. It still looks pretty great. One just came out, right? It's the first time I've ever seen this, where it's a Gundam kit. It's RG real grade Gundam kit from Bandai. It comes in the same box as all the other RG Gundam kits. But what is inside the box is a plastic model that you put together exactly the same way you put together every other Gundam kit. It is not a Gundam robot. They have released Eva Unit 01 from the new movies. That difference, right, with the red dots on the front.
Yep.
It's slightly different from the original TV, but it doesn't fucking matter, right?
It matters to someone.
Sure. As a actual Gundam model, not as like some separate Bandai Eva model, which is really interesting. Also, the model seems fantastic. Also, I pre-ordered it and I have it already.
Yeah.
And Gundam models are a great way to spend your time if you're stuck inside a whole bunch.
Mustn't kill time, boy.
Right. And they have two versions. I got the cheaper version, which is just the model. If you buy the fancier version, it comes with like the transport stand. When the Eva's on the truck and then they stand it up.
Yep.
It comes with that stand, or the one that it's in the thing and then it shoots up and goes to the city street level, and then like the Eva gets unplugged from it.
That's the Zetaiunme.
Yeah, that thing, right?
That's the Mokushiroku part of Eva.
And it also, the fancy one that has the stand, also includes an AT field plastic piece that you can
an Eva without an AT field is super vulnerable to attack.
Sure. I have the vulnerable one. But yeah, you can buy either one, and it'll be a great way to distract yourself from whatever.
Yeah. And another tiny
news. And it's not these aren't expensive, by the way. Like, you think if you want to, like, you're not sure if you're into Gundam models or whatever, they're only like You can get cheap ones like $10, $15,
And
$20.
even if you don't do that good a job, like if you follow the instructions, just make them. They'll look okay unless you get real close or a hyper nerd.
Right, unless you break it or something, which I've only done once.
They won't look great, but they'll look fine.
They look pretty damn good if you don't do any fancy biz to them.
Yep,
Just build it according to the instructions, put the decals on for your first one.
There are diminishing returns for the fancy biz. It's more about the process of the fancy biz than the result.
Yeah, it's all about building. Like, after I build it, like, I don't really want it anymore.
I mean, you don't want to play with it?
It's not really. It's sort of like, all right, some of them, if it looks good enough, it could be a decoration, but mostly it's like, all right, I had fun building it. Who wants what? Who wants it?
Yep.
Right? Anyone want this?
So another tiny news. I have not seen the Sonic the Hedgehog movie. I actually haven't even seen Detective Pikachu yet.
Nope.
People have told me that Detective Pikachu is pretty good.
I'm sure it's probably moderately funny.
And people have told me that Sonic the Hedgehog is better than expected, and numerous people have said it is worth watching, but will never need to be a rewatch.
Yeah, I
It
mean,
is
I can.
entirely
The thing is,
inoffensive.
I can already imagine. I feel like I can perfectly imagine exactly what it is.
Yeah.
I have a strong, not 100%, but like 90% confidence that I'm right. And knowing what it is, and because I know what it is, why do I need to see it? I've seen things like that.
I mean, I saw the He-Man live-action movie in the theater.
Sure. So,
Same kind of thing.
yeah.
But apparently, the Sonic movie has eclipsed Detective Pikachu at the box office, which is interesting because I've suspected for a long time that there are a terrifying number of Sonic the Hedgehog fans who just keep quiet about it, like it's there.
They're not quiet. You just don't look where they are.
Oh, I see the
they're
loud
not,
ones.
They're not quiet at all.
Oh, I see the loud ones. I think that, but I see the loud Pokemon people too. They feel like they have equal power online. I think there's a lot of closet Sonic the Hedgehog fans hiding out.
They're not closet. Sonic is well known to be popular. It is not a closet thing. It is common knowledge.
But it feels equally popular to say Pokemon.
Yes, Sonic is huge.
I feel like Sonic is huger than the public persona lets on based on these box office returns.
I mean, I know how big Sonic is. It's big.
Yeah. Bigger than Pokemon, though?
I mean, you can tell if you need numbers because you're not like paying attention to what's going on and you don't see the Sonic fandom. You can just look at the sales of the Sonic the Hedgehog comic book before it moved to Archie, the longest running, crazy good selling comic. It's like, who the fuck buys comic books, right? But somehow the Sonic comic was selling that fucking well for that long a period of time before it, switched because the license ran out or whatever. And it's like, if that doesn't tell you how popular Sonic is, right? The fact that its comic book is doing that well. You look at like this comic books, IDW puts out comic books of just about every licensed fucking property. They got Transformers, Ghostbusters, Star Trek, Ninja Turtles, fucking My Little Pony. They got comics of everything. Sonic outsold all those fuckers.
Yeah.
Right? So it's, hey.
The only other funny thing is I love when, especially like Nerdy News mentions an actor, because they usually will put like parenthetically like, here are 2 movies this person was in, so you like know who this person was. But I always love to see which 2 movies they pick for someone who's been extremely prolific.
Mm-hmm.
So they list Jim Carrey.
All right.
What 2 movies would you mention if you needed to convey to someone who Jim Carrey was?
Perhaps Ace Ventura.
That is the first. They list Ace Ventura, Pet Detective.
All right, The Mask.
Oh, they list The Truman Show as the other one.
Oh, Truman Show. That's all right. There you go.
Yep.
Yeah. That's all right.
Yep.
I think that's the correct 2 choices.
Yeah,
I
they
just,
picked
didn't,
the right
I just
ones.
didn't think of Truman Show because while I love the concept of Truman Show, and I think he actually did a good job acting in Truman Show.
Yeah, I thought the movie was not good as a movie.
Right. There's something about like actually that movie and also another Jim Carrey movie, the serious one that everyone loves with the brain thing.
Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind?
Yeah, another movie that I thought like
That one I loved.
that one and the Truman Show I think are just like mad overrated and I don't like them.
See, I think Truman Show is overrated and it had a lot of flaws, but I think Eternal Sunshine was fine.
No, I don't see like there's so many people who are like Eternal Sunshine best, oh my god, it's amazing, and I'm like,
Yeah.
whatever.
But anyway, it's time for
Also, how old is that dude now?
How old is he? I want to say he's
Is he still all anti-vax and crazy?
I feel like he's calmed down on that.
He's not a Scientologist. I think he's just anti-vax.
Oh, I typed Ace Ventura instead of Jim Carrey.
He's got to be 50-something, right?
Yeah, I want to say like 57 if I had to guess. 58?
He's old.
Yeah.
Fire Marshal Bill still his best friend. No, it's been downhill from there.
And starring Ace Ventura, known for Ace Ventura, Pet Detective, and Fire Marshal Bill. All right. God, that Tex Murphy video game with all the actors, like James Earl Jones and Margot Kidder and like everyone in it, the video game, it one of the early multimedia games, it had an homage to Fire Marshal Bill.
I was not aware. News to me.
It has a fire marshal character, and there's a whole like plot around it. You have to solve 2 puzzles related to that fire marshal.
Okay.
It's very much the same joke otherwise. All right. Things of the day. So I found this channel that talks about old stuff, and one thing they talked about was Russian warships. And of course, if you
that's
just
a very rim thing.
That's a very rim thing, like Russian warships.
Doesn't get more rim than that.
Like, let's talk about this, like World War I era, and maybe like pre-World War I era Russian warships.
So when we had the what was the first one with the iron? What the fuck was its name? The Monitor.
The Monitor and the Merrimack.
Right. So what did Russia have at that time?
At that time, I don't think there were ironclads over there.
All right, so what was like the first Russian ironclad?
I don't know a lot about pre-World War I Russian naval stuff, so give me a break.
That's a very rim thing, though, to know.
I know about World War I.
There's probably a board game about it.
I know about like the late pre-Dreadnought era onward with Russia when it comes to the Navy. And I learned about something based on this YouTube video that I did not know about. When you think of a warship, you think that it's like a ship, like it's long. And there's probably, even if you don't know anything about ships, you probably assume there's reasons why pretty much every ship is long, as opposed to just being like a big
it's
circle.
like, I don't know anything about boats, but it just makes common sense that like something pointy in the front would sort of cut through the water. Like you just imagine, even though I know nothing about hydrodynamics, right? It just sort of makes sense that like a pointy boat would cut through the water, whereas like a big wide boat trying to move forward would be pushing against a lot more water and would move slower. Right? That's why, like, when you're swimming, you want to keep your body tight. It's just common sense, right? Could be right or wrong, regardless. And then also, you have to imagine, if you're a warship, right? If you're big and wide, then it's easy to hit you with torpedoes. You want to have, it's obviously you can't make all sides of you narrow, then you would just be tiny, like a rowboat.
Yep.
But if you have a pointy side, at least then you could point your pointy side at the enemy and make yourself real hard to hit. The same way when you're fist fighting with someone, right? You could stand sideways to give them less surface area to punch you.
So funnily enough,
right? And then you obviously one side of you is still fucking wide, but you can move at least.
So funnily enough, you're right, but there's 2 reasons why being long in terms of a fight is important. The other side, you're familiar with the concept called crossing the T.
You can ram someone.
No. Yeah, you can't. Ramming was the thing. You realize there was an era in the pre-Dreadnought world where ramming was literally the most fucking effective thing. Like, ramming was awesome.
Of course.
There were even...
And you know how many times you rammed people in Puzzle Pirates?
There were ships...
We fucking rammed all the time.
They would literally just put bombs on the end of really long poles and hold them out and ram a ship with the bomb.
Fuck yeah.
The shit was ridiculous. But crossing the T is... So you know the concept of a broadside. Like... You
get two ships, both have cannons. They go right past each other, long side to long side, not hitting each other, just across from each other.
Yep.
And then everyone fires their cannons in the other boat.
Yep.
So you fire a cannon, and then a cannonball comes right back at you.
Yep, but that's because the guns are all on the side. You can't put all those guns facing forward. There ain't enough space.
That's right.
So,
well, also, I think that like the recoil from the gun doesn't work if you aim it forward, unless you only have like one little one.
No, that would have been fine. The problem is you need to line them all up. You need like a wide boat to do that, causing problems. But it's not because it's harder to hit you so much as because you can't shoot back. So what the crossing the T is, you want to go in front of someone, so they're coming at you like a T, and you fire your broadside at them one by one as you pass them.
And so they get hit in the front several times.
And they don't have anything they can shoot back at you with.
You have to have really good timing with each of those shots, though. Otherwise, you just miss because, like I said, they're narrow in the front.
Yep.
Whereas broadsides, you can just fire them all at once, and they're all going to hit.
So when you look at Russian space stuff, or Russian nuclear stuff, or Russian tanks, or anything, for a lot of reasons I don't want to get into, it's usually like, the rest of the world did this, and Russia did something weird relative to the rest of the world.
Yep.
And that actually wasn't true for a lot of not naval
Like
aviation.
diesel submarines.
Yeah. Well, no, we did diesel submarines.
No, but they still have them, I thought.
So they have nuclear subs.
Okay.
That you're thinking of North Korea, maybe.
Maybe.
Russia actually has. Russia is one of the only nations that has modern nuclear submarines. But they do have Old Smoky, their one aircraft carrier.
Oh, that was it.
The Admiral
it was
Kuznetsov.
it was the one. Okay, it wasn't a. It was
Old Smoky, it bellows black smoke all the time. No one can really explain why.
yeah, that one.
Anyway, so Russia apparently had circular warships at one point. These were not used as far as I can tell.
I wonder why.
But some were built. There were a lot of ideas as to why they should have been built. And this YouTube video will take you on a 15-minute journey into what I can only describe as a really terrible idea. Like, if Thomas Jefferson were alive in this era, he would have bought as many of these as he could. If you don't know why I'm making that joke, it's because Thomas Jefferson is famous for having the worst possible idea for how the U.S. should have a navy. Instead of spending money to make a few really big, powerful ships of the line, why don't we just make a ton of really tiny, shitty little ships with shitty little cannons and just swarm them out there?
It works for pirates.
Yep, you know what it does not work against? Even one British Navy ship of the line.
Yeah, you would not. None of your shots would damage it.
100 Rimmen Scots trying to take down Mike Tyson ends with 100 dead Rimmen Scots, and Mike Tyson he's bruised at most his knuckle.
Right. If someone has metal armor, it doesn't matter how many pistols you have; it won't penetrate.
That's why the Monitor and the Merrimack just spent an entire day shooting cannonballs that did nothing at each other.
Yep.
So this is pretty great. What's your thing of the day?
So I want you to imagine a piece of plastic, and that piece or glass, maybe I can't really tell. And that piece of plastic or glass is transparent and has the same refractive index as water. So when you put it in water, it effectively disappears. You can't see it anymore because how do you see a transparent piece of plastic in water? Well, because the light would go in the water, bend, hit the piece of plastic, bend, and now you can sort of see it there, right? Whereas the photons just pass through the water. They keep going straight. They hit the plastic. They keep going straight. They're just going straight through from all angles. And so you drop the thing in water and it's gone. Now, this company makes such a material. And they advertise it as like, hey, you can make a cool thing to go on your desk where it looks like your company's logo is floating in water, and your office desk, you're an executive, or all sorts of, practical or cool marketing or otherwise uses for this technology. But in this video promoting this, they have constructed a Rube Goldberg machine. Rube Goldberg machines, if you don't know, are the oldest GeekNights things of the day.
Yep.
We did a lot of Rube Goldberg machines over the years.
If you ever did Science Olympiad, it's the Mission Possible event, if that still exists.
And several components of the Rube Goldberg machine here, including the main marble that is running the course of the machine, are made of this material. So it appears as if this is a ghost-operated, strange Rube Goldberg machine, as many things move for apparently no reason, because you cannot see a good number of the objects involved. Whereas if they drain the water, it would look like a perfectly normal Rube Goldberg machine.
This is good stuff.
Also, getting a Rube Goldberg machine to work in water, that's already hard enough. Right? So there you go. Pretty cool. And also, this channel has a lot of other cool things on it.
In the meta moment, the GeekNights Book Club book, Tale of Genji. Still reading, learning stuff about Genji.
Yeah, I, as predicted, not reading that much at home. My Kindle on the poop plan has not worked because I tend to poop and then get out because I don't have a job to avoid while pooping.
Yeah, kind of the same situation actually.
So, but yeah, we'll get there.
I feel like I'm gonna do some reading like on the weekend, like once it gets a little warmer, like sit on my balcony.
I do a lot of reading in the park, so if I can get to if it's warm and I can get to the park, I can read there.
I'm getting ready for the idea that I'll just sit on my balcony a lot for a while.
I got a chair ready, so.
Otherwise, we have no cons until maybe September.
Maybe. Maybe not.
Yep, we'll see how things go. So, we've been watching a lot of shows. I've watched a ton of shit, but we both have watched a bunch of Keep Your Hands Off Eizouken.
So, yet again, is this the second Geek Nights in a row where we're talking about an anime from Science Saru?
Science Saru is too powerful for this earth.
Yeah, they're just making too many goddamn animes for everyone. If you don't know, Science Saru is the studio of Masaki Iwasa and Friends that has produced many great works.
What was the Weeb Simpsons meme where it was Milhouse's dad? He's like, I got fired because I said that Science Saru was being too productive.
Yeah, if you listen to the last episode we did on Ride Your Wave, you can hear us talk all about them, so we don't need to repeat ourselves on that. but they have a TV show that is coming out right now or just came out. I don't know if it's done yet. If it is done, it was done very recently. I watched the first 4 episodes. Rim watched some more than that, probably.
I actually only watched the first 4. I started the 5th one, but then I stopped because Emily and I are going to watch the whole thing together.
All right, so the first thing we have to talk about in this show, keep your hands off Eizouken, is the beginning, the fucking opener.
Oh, yeah.
Jesus Christ. Okay, so this opener comes on, right, with this Easy Breezy song.
Easy breezy.
And
It's already stuck in my head on permanent loop.
Immediately, I basically have 100% deja vu back to Kodocha.
Yeah.
It's the same fucking song, and there's a dance, and it's a very similar dance. The song is like with the same instruments and the same key or whatever. I don't fucking know music theory.
Yep,
but it's the same goddamn song, the same chord progression, the same everything.
And the opening itself, like the animation, is just great and weird and funny, and it gave me a lot of it gave me that feeling of a lot of the anime I really liked during anime club eras.
Exactly. I mean, there is no guarantee that that a show that has a dance opener or closer will be a good show. Mahoromatic, for example, had the Mahoro Mambo as the closer. Not a great show, but the tradition is still long and good, right? Is you got the Kodocha, I think, is the oldest one I know of.
Yep.
Obviously the Harahara Yukai is probably the biggest one, and now this is the new one, the Easy Breezy. So that's already, you turn this show on, you see Sai and Saru. It's like, that's good sign number 1. Then you see a dance as the opener, and you're like, that's good sign number 2. This is guaranteed good anime. I don't even need to tell you anything. I'm going home.
And then the characters in the opener are goony and weird and move weird, and I got a lot of the vibe. It basically set off an instinct that has not set off for a long time. An instinct from back when we ran the RT Anime Club. My brain said, we have to show this at the club.
Oh, yeah.
This show would have been one of those shows.
So here's the summary of the plot of this show, right? So there is a high school, but it's sort of
it's set much like Madoka Magica in a near future.
Yeah, it's definitely a sort of the architecture and the geography of the high school is weird. Like, there's water nearby. It seems like almost like a semi-fantastical anime town, right? Where it's like, the high school is in the town. It's not just like a high school separated from everything else.
Yeah,
like
it's not Utena.
Right, yeah. There's definitely town scenes and things like that. It's not all in the high school. But the architecture of the high school is strange. It has a lot of buildings. They're all stacked up vertically.
It feels like near future, like post some climate change problems.
Yeah, it's definitely unique in some ways.
And there's a lot of environmental storytelling around that. Like, just one random thing that I want to point out, the schools, like the teachers in the school, their offices are clearly in what used to be a pool.
Yep.
Like, specifically, they've turned this pool into office space.
Yep. So anyway, then you've got the architecture is weird. The social environment of the school seems pretty typical Japanese high school with a little bit of anime craziness.
Yep.
It's not as crazy as some other animes out there where high school doesn't even happen and no one goes to class.
Yep.
Right?
But it definitely
it's
feels
like,
you know what it feels like? Especially this episode where we saw the student council for the first time. It feels like the way it felt to be running clubs in a college or a high school.
It feels to me more like what you see in El Hazard, or even though the school scenes are brief, or the witch one.
There's a lot of anime that could apply to.
The one with the 3 witches?
My Sky Tai?
Yes, right? Where the school, it's still a high school environment, but it's just a little bit crazy. It's not Cromartie crazy.
Nope.
It's just like regular high school with a dash of Cromartie, like a little sprinkle.
So there's a dash of crazy. There's a dash of like goon characters, like background idiots doing background idiot stuff. Like the club that was asking for the weird thing.
Right. It's you know what it's like? It's sort of like Studio Trigger with the witches.
Little Witch Academia?
Yes, only without the fantasy. Remove the fantasy from Little Witch Academia.
But
it's the same sort of social aspect to that school.
Yeah, but couple it with an environment that is clearly set in a near future where things are different for future reasons, but not that far off.
All right, so there are students at this school, but really we only care about 3 of them. The 3 of them, I forget all their names. The main-ish one, because that's like the first one you're introduced to, even though they're all sort of equally main. They're all girls, all right, is sort of like this crazy anime nerd, right, who loves drawing mechs and is totally nuts and is really good at drawing.
Yep, into weird shit, like likes to explore the weird town
right?
and draw stuff.
Has a wild imagination, not right.
Yeah.
Right, and that's like the main character. Their best friend is the tall, skinny, serious character who's sort of serious. They care a lot about money.
Yep.
Right? They have more of a head on their shoulders, but they're also sort of greedy.
Yep.
And
they remind me of
manipulative.
They remind me of a lot of there's characters like this in like every old anime.
But not stupid and still has, mostly good intentions, right? The similar, they come across a lot like Susie from Little Witch Academia, the poison one. How do I finally remember the character's name?
Yep,
right?
or what's her name from Ranma 1/2? God, it's been a while. Feeling old here. We're the old men. Oh, who was the character in that show? Was that Tenchi Muyo? I think that was Tenchi Muyo.
Okay, and the third character is the plot of the first episode is sort of those two characters bringing this third one into their fold, right? They're at the anime club, and this third character gets chased out of the anime club by men in black, sort of a, ridiculous scene. And this third character is like a famous celebrity child model actor person who's at the school and loves anime and is mad rich and has mad rich parents and is like famous and, whatever. And they like anime a lot and they're good at drawing, but their parents don't want to let them join the anime club. So like their personal security guards who are like, taking care of them, came after them, right?
You have to get them out of the anime club.
Right. So these two other main characters who are at the anime club saw this and ended up through stuff ending up teaming up and making the 3-person team that forms the main 3 characters of the show.
2 artist animators and the level-headed and perfectly reasonable producer pulling it all together.
Yes, the 3 friends, their relationship and their character aspects, right, perfectly match what's going on in an animation studio. One person represents the management, right? Needing to get things done on time, needing money, needing to stay in budget, wanting to actually get shit done. And the other 2 people are imaginative, creative types, right? Who need to be, they have a lot of drive to get things done, but they want to do it their way, right? And they have 2 different ways, right? One is the crazy sort of mecha artist, and the other one, the rich one,
the character artist,
right,
basically.
is the character artist, right? Who wants to, make the animations really detailed and have lots of frames and, draw like real life. Or is the crazy one wants to draw mechs and backgrounds and environments, right?
And basically, the first 4 episodes, like the arc to get you started on the show, is just they form the club. There's club politics to form clubs. They work hard, and they basically make their daikon animation.
Right. They couldn't form an anime club because there was one, so they formed a film club. The anime club in the show is really just like our anime club. It was about watching anime.
Yep.
Their club is about producing anime, right? So and their club is the Eizouken.
Yep. They lie and say they're a generic film club to get their club license, and now the clock is ticking to be so impressive that the school can't just like revoke their charter because they're not making films.
Right, because even though one person is rich, they can't really use that money. They need the school's money to produce the anime they want to make. And what the real conceit of the show is not that main plot. The real conceit of the show is that much in the way that, say, Utena or other shows have a episodic structure where there is sort of like a battle in each episode, right? In this show, basically, in each episode, there is sort of a point at which the characters cross over into the animation that they are making, and it's all anime. You're watching an anime, you at home, the real person, right? But the anime that you're watching, those characters in their world crosses over with the world of the animation that they're making or have already made, right? And that is sort of like the duel, right? That happens in each episode.
Clearly representing on one hand, usually the third character being dragged into their like imagination and then kind of implicitly getting excited about the idea, even if they ostensibly aren't.
But also other people being dragged in, right? And they're trying to demonstrate the power of like, this is what animation is, right? You're inflicting your imagination upon others, and you make it real for them with the power of many drawings.
But coupled with like the actual...
And then... Right.
but the actual process they show in the show, like, gets pretty detailed and pretty realistic.
Right. So usually you see this a lot in pretty much every medium of art, right? Paintings of people painting things,
Yep.
right? Songs about making music, right? I want to rock and roll all night and party every day, right? Movies about making fucking movies, singing in the rain, right? Books about fucking authors. It's too many of those. Video games about video games. There's actually not as many of those as there could be, but there are still more than zero.
But a lot of the anime about making anime.
Comic books about comic books. Don't even get me fucking started. Manga about manga. I just read one the other day.
But a lot of them focus a lot more on the actual character drama, and they kind of gloss over or put very scant detail into the actual like thing that they're addressing.
Anime about anime. There's Animation Runner Kuromi, right?
Yep.
There's tons of these. So if you're gonna do one of those, right, a thing about the medium that it is in, right, there is a high bar to get over to make that acceptable and not just be another one of those. And the one way you can do it is just by executing on such a high level that it's like, oh, you're the best song about songs ever, so it's okay for you to be a song about songs.
This is a tribute.
Right. The other way to do it is to do what's going on here. This isn't, it might be the best anime about anime. Maybe it's Otaku no videos up there. I don't know. Regardless of that, the angle on this is different. It's only slightly meta, detailing about the production of anime, right? The message is like, how animators feel about anime, right?
Yeah, but also it's good about the nuance of the animators want to do one thing. They don't even fully agree with each other. And then there's budget and other constraints. And how does the finished idea that comes to a screen evolve, and how it often ends up radically different from what the animators actually wanted. And that's just how things work.
Well, but also it's that's there, but it's about the power of the animation itself, right? Which the other anime about anime are not about the power of anime. Animation Runner Kuromi isn't about the power of animation. Otaku no Video isn't about the power of animation. What makes that medium strong and effective.
This one, the first arc builds up to, here's our fucking Daikon animation, and we're just going to watch it in the show, in the context of the show, and it's great.
This anime is literally illustrating animations, having literal power, right, to sort of inflict their, worlds upon people, right, in a fantastic and supernatural possibly way.
Hey, you trigger someone's imagination and they're off.
Right.
I am really enjoying watching the producer get sort of dragged into this nonsense reluctantly, but not as reluctantly. Like, they protest a lot, but they're kind of into it in the end.
I'm actually kind of liking how when they bring in, so I thought that they were mostly good because the other stuff outside of the three characters is not brought in very much, right? It has not a lot of screen time, but they're actually giving it more than I thought. And
the teacher seems like the teacher's really trying to help them, and that's going to be a theme.
Like the beard teacher.
My beard is heavy again.
Yes, that beard teacher. I thought he was just going to be there and gone. It's no, the beard teacher actually seems like he's a thing. He's doing more than the club advisor and Yoa Pedalos.
He's doing more than any club advisor we ever had did.
Right, the club advisor and Yoa Pedal doesn't do jack shit. He's just there because they have to have one. Right?
Or the student council. I hope they come back because they're great.
Yeah, it's the fact that they decided to make character designs for the student council shows me that they're going to be real characters, right?
Yep.
That have meaning and whatever.
And also, the show is just really well. The animation's great.
Well,
the voice acting's great.
Of course.
The show is funny as shit.
You thought they were going to do. Dude.
Yeah. But this show, I have laughed more at this than most comedy anime I've seen in a while.
Yeah.
But
you can tell what's happening in this show is that the imaginations of the real animators working on it, right, through this mechanism that they have created, are able to take their completely crazy, out of context ideas and insert them into the show as the characters' ideas. Those characters then draw those ideas, which are then brought to life in the show, right? Not really brought to life, right? And so it's haha, we have created this structure whereby we can do all this crazy stuff that we want to do, and but pass it off as crazy stuff someone else wants to do, and then we get to draw what we want to draw.
But one of my favorite scenes, I think it's even in the second episode, is they do the whole into the other anime world thing, and they draw all this stuff, and they're flying around, and then it zooms back out very carefully to they're standing there and they literally have one piece of paper with one image on it, just sitting on top of another piece of paper with another image. And all that in their imagination came from them looking at this one picture.
Right, but another high school anime that say wanted to have a tank in it would have to have, be like, all right, well, they're students are training for this war, right? Here, they can have one episode can have a tank, and the next episode can have, planes.
The producer at one point's even like, look, we're cutting the plot. Just draw the tank and the machete girl.
Yep.
No plot.
But it's like, the point is, every episode of this show going forward, they'll be able to draw whatever crazy shit they want, right? Whatever those characters are imagining and whatever they want to draw in their anime, right? The people who are making the show in real life can now draw all sorts of crazy stuff. They can draw some romance, they can draw some comedy, they can draw anything because they've made a, the thing that's they've made a frame of these three characters and this school, and that frame is around a blank anime canvas because the characters are making an anime, and now they can just put whatever they want there episode to episode.
But it helps that the three characters are just great. Like, they're really good, distinct, unique, quirky characters that I enjoy a lot.
Despite being, characters you see in a lot of anime, right? They're
done well. They have a lot.
They're crooked, slightly so.
They have a lot more subtle bits going on that make them much more complete than similar characters from other shows. Like the fact that the main girl, when she gets nervous, kind of talks like an old grandpa, and like things like that.
The voice actor definitely is not what you would typically assign for a female high school girl character.
Like, I'm into the show enough to where I'm just going to watch the whole thing. Like, I do not need any prompting to finish this show pretty quickly.
No.
It's not even all out yet.
Nope. Oh, how many episodes is it going to be?
I'm not sure, actually. I want to say it was like a typical 26-ish show. There are 11 out so far.
Okay. I don't know how many there's going to be total.
Yep, I don't know either.
I've seen 4, so doesn't seem like a reason not to watch the rest.
Yep,
here.
and episode 11 just came out 2 days ago.
All right, so it's on Crunchyroll. It's probably on somewhere else too, but Crunchyroll seems like the place.
If you haven't been watching a lot of anime lately, like, you could do worse to come back into anime by watching this.
You're gonna be stuck at home. If you're really so bored and you really have nothing to do, that you're listening to fucking Geek Nights. Holy shit, what a waste of your time. You could have watched 1 or 2 episodes of this in the time it took you to watch Geek Nights. Mistakes were made. Go correct your mistakes now.
You can watch them at the same time.
Do not listen to another Geek Nights. Instead, watch this show.
All right, sad Pyro and Snow. All right, that was an easy show.